Laura, we have an enormous NFL trade in which Seattle and Denver have agreed to a trade that will send Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos for a package of picks and players, 7 assets Seattle is acquiring in return for the 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback who will have to pass his physical and still has to waive his no-trade clause, which he is expected to do. You take a look at what Seattle's getting in return. Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, double ones, double twos. This is the foundation that the Seahawks will use going forward without the man who's been in Seattle and led the Seahawks to their only Super Bowl title. The Denver Broncos, on the other hand, play in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and have gone through 11 different quarterbacks since Peyton Manning retired. Their search has ended, and it has ended with Russell Wilson. The Broncos general manager, George Paton, initiated talks with the Seahawks. They and Seattle have been talking for at least a couple of weeks now. The talks heated up over the weekend and culminated in an agreement today that obviously is a blockbuster deal that will reshape the AFC West and the NFC West as well.
Yeah, again, we will be on this all show long, so don't miss the reaction. But not to be lost in the shuffle today, more news. Aaron Rodgers has made a decision. And Adam, the beautiful mystery of his future is much clearer. What happened with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers confirmed today in a tweet, as he had told Pat McAfee earlier in the day, that he has decided to return to Green Bay. They're still sifting through his contract. They are expected to get it worked out. It is not worked out yet, as Aaron Rodgers pointed out in his tweet, but Aaron Rodgers has decided to return to Green Bay for an 18th season, and this was the move that everybody had been waiting for. There is the tweet, Laura. Hey, everyone, just wanted to clear some things up. Yes, I will be staying with the Packers next year. However, reports about me signing a contract are inaccurate, as are the supposed terms of the contract signed. I'm very excited to be back. Year 18. And so the Packers have been waiting for this move. It was the key move that had to happen before they could go ahead and make their other moves. Of course, once he did announce that, they put the franchise tag on Davante Adams. He's not going anywhere from Green Bay. They have other moves they still have to make to get under the salary cap. But Aaron Rodgers is back and now looks like he will finish his career in Green Bay, a concept that 1 year ago would have been unlikely to many people involved. But now he and the organization have made progress. They're in a better spot. He's open and excited about being back. And Aaron Rodgers, again, we were waiting for that story. Russell Wilson, the two quarterback stories collide today in what may turn out to be the busiest 24-hour stretch of the NFL offseason these past 24 hours.
You know, Adam, over the weekend, you said a volcano was going to erupt in the NFL. I'm pretty sure it's erupted. I guess the question now, is there any lava left? There's still some things that are left to be decided, and we'll find out what the latest is there. Adam with us for the hour. We got Marcus Spears and Damian Woody here as well. Let's go back to the Russell Wilson trade. Again, he is going to the Denver Broncos. What's your reaction, Marcus, to hearing this initially?
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Listen, we talked about this last year where Russell Wilson put the teams out there of potential trade partners, but we've had all of this conversation about Denver getting Aaron Rodgers and what that would make them as a football team. I don't think anybody in Denver is unhappy about what transpired today. Russell Wilson, along with those weapons, along with the idea that Nathaniel Hackett is there to run a high-powered offense, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, along with Russell Wilson's ability to throw the deep ball, scramble ability, Javonte Williams in the backfield. This team is now complete from a defensive and offensive standpoint, because we know when you have a franchise quarterback, when you have a guy that can win you some games, even though you may not be playing at your highest level, you have a shot when you get into the playoffs. Fully expect Denver to be in the playoffs, and y'all, think about this division. Oh, my God.
Woo.
I'm going to save some meat on the bone for Woody. I'm too lit about this one.
Hey, Swagoo, man, I had to take off my coat, my jacket from earlier today because I needed room to operate with all this news dropping down on us right now, because I'm so crunk about all this news. This is what we live for today, man. But listen, when we talk about Russell Wilson, here's the thing. I've been saying for the Seattle Seahawks, it was time to kind of rebuild and break this thing down. Because if you look at the Seattle Seahawks, even with Russell Wilson, they were 4th in the division, okay? So now if you're the Seattle Seahawks, you've now started the process of rebuilding this whole thing. And you've gotten picks, you've gotten players. But that's the easy part. The easy part is trading away a player like Russell Wilson and gathering all these assets. The hard part is going to be to execute and all those type of things. So that's what we're in wait-and-see mode on the Seattle Seahawks as far as how this whole thing is going to unfold in the future. But for the Denver Broncos, to be able to get a Hall of Fame quarterback like Russell Wilson, to go with all those weapons that we talked about on offense, the Cortland Sutton, the Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, who's coming back off the ACL, Javonte Williams in the backfield. If you're Russell Wilson right now, boy, you got to be so crunk to be working with all those weapons and Nathaniel Hackett as the offensive mind to orchestrate all that. Great day for the Denver Broncos.
Hey, let me tell you how Russell Wilson thinks here. I think that we all look at Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, the fact that he has to face them. I think that he thinks that they have to face him the other way around. And this is a situation where in a quarterback carousel, we now have Rodgers back to Green Bay. We have Russell Wilson in Denver. We have another team added to the potential quarterback mix in Seattle. And now we go on to the next quarterback in the carousel. Deshaun Watson, Jimmy Garoppolo. What's going to happen with the uncertainty in the legal situation surrounding Deshaun Watson? What about Jimmy Garoppolo, who's now going to bid for him? Because let me say this. There were at least a dozen teams, minimum, that inquired about the availability of Russell Wilson. One team got Russell Wilson, 11 others did not, and one team traded him away. So that quarterback carousel that we've been talking about and covering throughout the offseason is going to continue spinning as the options continue to diminish.
Yeah, we love it. That basically means, D-Wood, I hope you threw your jacket out the window because you don't have any time to be putting that back on with all the news that we've got today. So as this continues to carry on, let's get to Aaron Rodgers, and I want to get both of y'all's reaction to that. We start with you, Marcus. For Aaron Rodgers, this deal likely means he finishes his career as a Packer. You think about what he's done. You think about the times that they've fallen short, though. Does he need to win one more title to feel like the nearly 20-year run as a Hall of Fame quarterback was a success?
Well, look, I know it feels like we're piling on when we talk about Aaron Rodgers needing to win a Super Bowl. One is hard. Played in the league 9 years, never sniffed it. So it's difficult to win one. But ultimately, when we have tiers of these quarterbacks, and we've talked about Aaron Rodgers being in that upper tier, if you mention greatest quarterbacks, his name is tossed around in there. Another Super Bowl would definitely help that. It would solidify more of that argument. But more importantly, Boogie, like, what did you sign him for if it's not a Super Bowl that is produced out of these next years that Aaron Rodgers is in Green Bay? We've had a lot of drama over the past 2 years between Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers and what would and wouldn't happen. When would he make this particular decision that he just made in order to return to Green Bay? Now, it's about Super Bowls. Don't tell me nothing about playoffs. Don't tell me nothing about winning 13 games or even him winning league MVP. This is strictly about the Green Bay Packers finishing the deal. That is what this extension is about. That is what all this drama has been about. And if you went through all of this, Green Bay, if you went through all of this with Aaron Rodgers blazing you at the podium in your own facility, spending an entire offseason away, Mark Murphy and Gutekunst capitulating to all of the things that you wanted to have done, more of a voice. If you don't get a Super Bowl, it was all a waste of time.
Hey, Swagger, like we had talked about in the pre-show, there's levels to this, right? There's levels when it comes to the legacy aspect of Aaron Rodgers. We know he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But let me tell you something. There are different rooms in Canton when you talk about certain players, when you talk about Aaron Rodgers, or when you talk about Tom Brady. So when you talk about, adding another Super Bowl, we're talking about adding another level to where we think Aaron Rodgers is going to be. And you're right, Swagger.
100%.
Listen, we knew he was going to get paid, right? The Green Bay Packers even told him that they were going to make him the highest paid player in the National Football League. It was never about that. He knew he was going to get his money.
Yeah.
This is about championships if you're the Green Bay Packers. No one wants to hear anything else if it's not about Super Bowls. I need to see the Lombardi Trophy going back to Titletown in order for us to elevate the discussion about where Aaron Rodgers is in the pantheon of other great quarterbacks.
You know, let's talk about this upcoming season, right? Because it factors in. I'm going back to you, Swagoo. When you think about Aaron Rodgers and what made sense for him, right? He was very clear. He didn't want to rebuild, and that's why a lot of us thought the best choice was just going back to Green Bay. So, D-Wood, to that end, what do the Packers need to improve on most? Of course, we did find out that Davante Adams is franchise tagged.
Yeah, Laura, for me, I'm going to look on the offensive side of football. They need a bona fide, guy opposite of Davante Adams. If you look at what Davante Adams, the target share and everything that he brought to the table, I mean, listen, this is a guy that had over 1,500 yards receiving. The second receiver for the Green Bay Packers, Alan Lazard, only had like 500 yards receiving. To me, that distribution needs to change. They need someone opposite Davante Adams to bring, to someone that can command attention opposite that, because we saw in the playoff game against the San Francisco 49ers, yes, Aaron Jones went off, had over 100 receiving yards. Davante Adams had 90 yards. The third person after that had one catch for 6 yards. They need more on offense, particularly the guy opposite Davante Adams in this offense.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go to the opposite side, man, because when we think about this team holistically, defensively, they got some decisions to make, which these contracts in turn may impact what they are doing as a team in totality. Remember, Jair Alexander is up for a contract. You got Devondre Campbell, who played well last year. And obviously, we've been talking about Zadarius and Preston Smith with their numbers on the book. This order of business with Aaron Rodgers was the green light for Brian Gutekunst and the rest of the front office in Green Bay to go about getting those things hashed out and figured out. There is still more work to do in Green Bay. You got the big fish. You got Davante Adams under a franchise tag in order to work a long-term deal to free up some more space. But ultimately, like I said when we were talking about this earlier, this is Super Bowl or bust. So every decision, every move, offensive and defensively, is paramount at this point for the Green Bay Packers front office.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers has gone 16 straight playoff starts without reaching the Super Bowl. That's the longest streak by any QB in postseason history. It's now or never, but at least we know he's going back to Green Bay. And one of the craziest days of news in the NFL, we are just getting started here on NFL Live. Plenty more to unfold in Green Bay. When we come back, what about the rest of that Green Bay roster? We get into that a little more significantly and everything you need to know about Davante Adams and where things stand there. Plus, as we turn our...
Both came to meet their futures today, Laura. We'll start with Russell Wilson, who is being traded to the Denver Broncos, pending him waiving that no-trade clause, pending him past that physical, which is not expected to be an issue on either case. Denver is sending a significant package of players and picks that includes Noah Fant, the tight end, Drew Lock, the quarterback, Shelby Harris, the defensive lineman, 2 first-round draft picks, 2 second-round draft picks to Seattle. Seattle has a chance to remake its roster. And then Denver gets back a quarterback to solve its issues at that position. Since Peyton Manning retired, the Broncos have had 11 different starting quarterbacks. They still have not found the one they wanted, but Russell Wilson was one that they were honing in on. These last couple of weeks, the Broncos general manager, George Paton, initiated talks with Seattle to get this trade done, and in the end, Seattle was offered a package that it could not turn down. You see the full terms of the trade there. It is one of the largest deals in NFL history, and it sends ripple effects across 2 different conferences. We mentioned Aaron Rodgers before. He announced today that he is returning to Green Bay for an 18th season. They're still working out that contract that will bring him back, but by going back, it looks like the Packers now have the pieces in place, despite their challenging salary cap situation, to make another run at another NFC North title to try to go further in the playoffs this upcoming season than they did this past season. Rodgers looks like he will get to finish his career in Green Bay, unlike Brett Favre. And so for all the drama that's occurred over the last year, we're right back back to where we started with Rodgers there. You see the tweet he sent out today saying, hey, everyone, just wanted to clear some things up. Yes, I will be playing with the Packers next year. However, reports about me signing a contract, inaccurate. So the bottom line is Rodgers back in Green Bay. The Packers get back their quarterback. Russell Wilson goes to Denver. And now we get to hone in on some of the other quarterbacks who will be free and available this offseason.
Lots of quarterback-needy teams. Adam, I want to point this out. The Super Bowl odds moving off of the big NFL stories today. Odds to win the Super Bowl for Denver moved from 25-1 to 12-1. For Green Bay, they moved from 15-1 to 12-1 when the report from you came out, now at 10-1 odds. All right, let's get to the other big news of the day. The franchise tag deadline passed at 4 p.m. And let's get to the latest names. We bring in Diana Rossini here for all of that. Let's begin with the Bucs wide receiver Chris Godwin. What's going on there, Diana?
Yeah, both sides were really working against the clock here, try to beat that deadline to come up with a long-term contract extension for the wide receiver. The Tampa Bay Bucs, they've been really transparent, Laura, about wanting to keep him on this team, but in the end, they weren't able to come up with an agreement for now, so they placed the franchise tag on him. That's back-to-back seasons, and by the way, this is the first time we've ever seen a wide receiver play on the franchise tag in back-to-back seasons. That, of course, if they don't come up with a contract extension by July 15th, so we'll see how that goes, but we know that they want to keep him on this team. As for Devontae Adams, you heard Adam Schefter talk about it earlier today. Dan Graziano confirming that he has been officially tagged. Word is that both sides could not come up with a long-term contract extension. Again, they'll have until July 15th to come up with that, and we know he is a gigantic part of the plan involving Aaron Rodgers, who we now know has returned. Meantime, it was the Chargers who didn't use the franchise tag on wide receiver Mike Williams because they were able to come up with a contract extension, $40 million over 3 years. Williams, of course, had that career year, and look, it's just another benefit to have a quarterback on a rookie contract because you're able to pay those guys. And of course, across the league, other notables, 3 tight ends were franchise tagged, and what's really interesting, guys, is they're making about 10.9. The price for them will actually be less than what we saw last year for Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. So, you know, those guys aren't probably too psyched today getting the tag. As for guys that didn't get the tag, Allen Robinson, a big name, and Harold Landry from the Tennessee Titans, I was told they were trying to work out a long-term deal, but they couldn't come up to one, but they're still going to continue to work over the next few weeks to try to see if they can come up with an agreement.
Coming down to the wire, thanks to Diana for the latest there. You'll rejoin us a little bit later on the show with more information, and things are getting wild out west, as we've told you. Russell Wilson heading to Denver. That means we get Russ and Mahomes twice a year. What more could you want? The AFC West could be the best division in football. We'll tell you more when we come right back on NFL Live. Keep it right here. Trade to the Broncos. How did this come about?
Well, the two teams have been talking for weeks now, Laura. In fact, there have been at least a dozen teams that reached out to the Seahawks in an effort to get a trade done with Russell Wilson. But my understanding is that Russell Wilson wanted to be in Denver, and that helped drive this deal so that he wound up as a Bronco. There are the terms of the deal. Keep in mind that Seattle takes a $26 million dead money cap hit by trading Russell Wilson, but they also free up $11 million by moving on from him, and they're now a little under $50 million under the cap, and they still have to make a decision on Bobby Wagner, their linebacker, who's got a big cap number upcoming, and there was a lot of talk at the Combine about teams and Seattle discussing a potential trade for Bobby Wagner. We'll see what happens. So Russell Wilson, Bobby Wagner, same draft class. Russell Wilson's traded. We'll see now if Bobby Wagner stays in Seattle as well. There's some uncertainty surrounding him, but Seattle is remaking its roster. And of course, the other news of the day involved Aaron Rodgers, the Packers quarterback, who announced on Twitter that he is returning to Green Bay for his 18th season. This was the decision that everybody around Indianapolis in the Combine and everyone across the league was waiting for in recent weeks. Over the weekend, he was with his teammates at David Bakhtiari's wedding. Aaron Rodgers even officiated it. So he went from officiating a wedding to committing to the Packers. David Bakhtiari said I do. Aaron Rodgers now has said I do. And he and the Green Bay Packers will be wedded together, presumably, for the remainder of his NFL career, Laura.
And they all lived happily ever after, right, Adam? Look how that all worked out.
If they win a Super Bowl, yes.
Exactly. That's a big question. We'll get to that a little bit more later on in the show. Russell Wilson, though, let's get back to this big Seattle trade to Denver. Russ has thrown 292 touchdowns in his career. That's the second most through a player's first 10 seasons in NFL history. It puts him just ahead of Dan Marino and behind only Peyton Manning. What a sandwich to be in between right there. Let's talk about how much of a loss this is for the Seahawks. So much of the conversation is around the Broncos, right, and what they're getting. But the Seahawks might be in full rebuild mode. And not might, they are. Marcus, birthday boy, what's next?
Listen, it is, first of all, the package that they have, and something comes to mind that Dan and Mina talked about a number of times with Seattle. They have not drafted well. So these picks mean nothing if you don't hit, right? And I'm sure there'll be players, they'll look elsewhere in free agency, but this draft coming up, obviously, they have to be big players in that. But when you look at Bobby Wagner, y'all, this gives me concern because you are literally, if you lose Bobby Wagner, you've lost the identity of the Seattle Seahawks as we know them. They are no longer the team that we remember. Nobody there has familiarity with the things that they've done in the past that was so successful. But ultimately, this is where franchises are. This is where you end up when you make these decisions. Now it's about the work moving forward. Obviously, it became, I felt like it became stale and stagnant in Seattle. I felt like change needed to be made. We just talked about that yesterday on the show, El Boogie. But today, as you focus on the future, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, you should be somewhat excited about the potential and the possibility of flipping these picks that you have for Russell Wilson and having Noah Fant, who I think is going to be an elite tight end. Hopefully a Jamal Adams that's healthy coming back. Those pieces that you have that you know can play at a high level, complement those. And we all know you have to work on finding a quarterback. But eventually, if Seattle is the franchise that I think they are, they'll figure that out. Maybe not this year, but eventually they'll find their guy and the rebuild will be on, and then you can press forward towards winning football games.
Listen, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. The easy part is to tear it down. The hard part is to build it back up. And I point to the Jamal Adams trade, but it's a two-part thing. Part of it was the Seattle Seahawks felt like they were like that certain type of player away from winning the Super Bowl. But the other aspect of it was they really couldn't draft well, especially at the top of the draft in the first round. So that's why they felt comfortable, giving away 2 first-round picks for Jamal Adams. Now they got 2 firsts, 2 seconds back in this Russell Wilson trade, but the whole situation is, can you hit on it? And that is what is going to constitute if this trade is a success or not. If you don't hit on these early picks, this is going to be a disaster for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah. Adam, I'm curious because obviously Drew Lock was involved in this trade, but when it comes to the QB market, Jimmy G's a guy that's still out there. You can throw out some other names. What do you think the Seahawks are doing as it relates to maybe grabbing somebody like that, or are they maybe just out of the mix for the QB market?
No, I don't think they're out of the mix at all. And in fact, in talking to people around the league today, they wouldn't be surprised. Seattle's got added ammunition. Maybe they jump into the Deshaun Watson race at some point in time, depending on what happens with his legal situation, which could gain some clarity. We have Seattle sitting there with a high top 10 pick. There are people who believe that the Seahawks general manager, John Schneider, would like to package that pick, move back, get even more picks, turn the one pick into multiple picks. And so now the speculation begins, but Seattle has options that it didn't have before trading Russell Wilson. Let's keep in mind, there is a hole at the quarterback spot. They do like Drew Lock, but they got a lot back in return, and now they can have some fun with their return on the investment after moving on from Russell Wilson here today, assuming that Russell Wilson does pass his physical in Denver.
Yeah, listen, that's the big thing, right? Schefter, you pointed out the opportunity for Seattle to kind of get a bunch of picks in this situation, because we know they haven't been the best at drafting, but we know the draft is a crapshoot, right? If you get multiple opportunities at the dartboard, you're bound to hit at some point. So if you're the Seattle Seahawks and you're rebuilding, collecting as many assets as possible to give yourself the best chance to rebuild and recoup this thing as far as the roster construction is concerned, that's got to be the whole premise for the Seattle Seahawks moving forward.
The punter? I gotta. The punter was all pro. I gotta. Boogie, can I ask Shefty a question?
I guess.
As we talk
Just
about
kidding.
this quarterback carousel.
Yes, of course.
Shefty, what's up with Jameis Winston? What is the consensus? Have you heard anything about him in this free agent market?
He's a free agent. He's out there. He's one of the names that teams are considering. I think there was an upper tier of quarterbacks here. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and then obviously the uncertainty surrounding Deshaun Watson. I think once we get past those quarterbacks, you're looking at the next group of quarterbacks. I think the first one will be Jimmy Garoppolo. There will be a team that is interested in trading for him. A trade may not happen until shortly before the draft. It could take a little while with him undergoing shoulder surgery. And then there's a group of free agent quarterbacks that I think we'd have to start with, Jameis Winston and Mitchell Trubisky. Those two quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota out there. But again, there are some teams with some significant quarterback questions. Not everybody's going to get one in the draft. And we'll see where this game of musical chairs with quarterbacks winds up. And I think somebody will give Jameis Winston a chance to start because not every team is going to get the quarterback that they want.
Yep.
You know, this was a big splash today, but it feels like in a lot of ways just the tip of the news iceberg this offseason. So much more that Adam just laid out to get going.
There won't be another day with moves surrounding two of the top quarterbacks in the game the way there was today.
This is it. Right now, enjoy it, marinate in it. It's beautiful. Also, Russell Wilson is actually going to become the first guy to start for a team that he beat in the Super Bowl if this does, in fact, come official as we expect it to. We're checking in on our girl, Mina Kimes, as Russell Wilson has been traded. She's coping on Twitter at the moment. She said she's tweeting through it. She's gone through the ranges of emotions, right? Mourning at first, then moving past it, grieving a bit. And Mina, we're all with you. We love you, and we can't. Rodgers has announced that he is returning to the Green Bay Packers next season. This means, as he confirmed in a tweet, likely to finish his career, will finish his career in Green Bay. So at least some of that mystery is now over, and we know that's what's going on. Now a lot of the questions remain around the rest of the roster. How about Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams? They're running it back in Green Bay. They've both earned first-team All-Pro honors in each of the last 2 seasons. Rodgers and Adams, one of 4 quarterback receiver duos in NFL history to accomplish that feat. The first since Steve Young and Jerry Rice from 1992 to 1994. For more on Green Bay, let's welcome in ESPN Packers reporter Rob Demovsky. Rob, so glad to have you. Aaron Rodgers, one of the stories of the day, right? Take us through what's been going on there.
Laura, if on your March 8th Packers bingo card, you had Aaron Rodgers telling Pat McAfee that he was coming back, then you had Rodgers himself confirming it in a tweet, and then you had the Packers giving the franchise tag to Davante Adams, then you're a winner. Really, the Packers are the winner in this whole thing. I texted one member of the coaching staff and I asked him, how happy are you right now? And the reply on text was so happy with 3 exclamation points. However, there's still a lot of work to do with this. We know the contract with Aaron Rodgers is not done. He said as much. So they still have to work that out. And then there's the whole tag with Davante Adams. Look, no one wants to be tagged. No player does. And really, the team doesn't want to have to use it either because of the salary cap implications. So while they work through Rodgers' contract, they also want to try to get a long-term deal done with Davante Adams because it would lower the cap number from the franchise tag to something much more manageable. And then they can truly rebuild this team, reload this team for another run, which is what Rodgers came back for.
Yeah, you know, Rob, I'm wondering if the March 8th bingo card had anything about Russell Wilson being traded to the Broncos or any of that. If you had that, you really would have been right. Thanks to Rob Demovsky for the latest there in Green Bay. Over the last 2 regular seasons, Aaron Rodgers has been in a league of his own, leading the league in total QBR, touchdown to interception ratio, and ranking 2nd in completion percentage. As a result, he's won each of the last 2 NFL MVP awards, becoming just the 5th player in NFL history to win consecutive MVPs. So, Marcus, This team, though, as you think about how good Aaron Rodgers has been, still has to get over the hump, and they're relying heavily on Rodgers in the playoffs. When you think about all of that and the amount of time that he'll be playing now, at least over these next couple of years and maybe longer, what does that mean for Jordan Love? Because I feel like he gets admittedly lost in all of this.
Yeah, coming off of 2 years of talking about where is the love, now we're going to be talking about what about love.
Right.
And I'm telling you right now, I think the Green Bay Packers' best move forward is to go get them a veteran quarterback to sit behind Aaron Rodgers and see if Jordan Love can be a piece where you can get some more money back and help you facilitate some of those contracts that in order for you to be a Super Bowl contender. I know it sounds crazy, but listen, hear me out. Teddy Bridgewater was in New England, went 5-0 behind Drew Brees, kept that team in contention. We've seen veteran quarterbacks come in and be able to hold the fort down if in case anything happens, in case Aaron Rodgers has to miss a game or two because of a toe, or he has to miss a couple weeks because of a certain situation, I would like to have a veteran presence behind him on a really good football team to hold down the fort. Jordan Love gets lost into all of this. It's a young quarterback. Man, you can't sit down 5-6 years before you take a snap in real time in the NFL and expect for a guy's career to just take off. That's the direction that I would go. I would try to find a veteran and use Jordan Love as a piece to try to complete and round out this roster.
Interesting.
Yeah, listen, Swagger, I totally agree with you. You got to look. We've been talking on the show, all show, about how Aaron Rodgers is in Super Bowl now, win mode now, Super Bowl. And so when you're talking about a situation where, you know, there's only the number one seed only gets a bye week, right? And we know that Aaron Rodgers was dealing with injuries last year. And we see a situation where if Aaron Rodgers ever misses any time, do you want Jordan Love to be the guy? You know, be the guy that's going to come in and try to save the day to help the Green Bay Packers get that potential number one seed? I agree. I think you need to go the veteran route. Someone who's been in this league a while, who can come in like Colt McCoy did in Arizona last year when Kyler Murray missed time. He held it down for the Arizona Cardinals. I think they need a similar situation for the Green Bay Packers in order to keep the boat afloat if for any reason Aaron Rodgers misses time. Also, I think, listen, with Jordan Love, he deserves to be on a team where he could possibly try to get a starting job. Remember, there are a lot of teams out there that still are looking for a quarterback. This is a guy that's been sitting for 2 years. He's a first-round pick. There are going to be teams out there that's going to look at Jordan Love and say, we don't know what's going on in Green Bay, but we know our quarterback situation is dire. Let's try to give this guy a shot at winning a starting gig.
Yeah, guys, don't you think this final stretch of the road to recovery between the Packers and Aaron Rodgers is to move on from Jordan Love? Because I feel like he just really was the start of where this all began and started to go downhill. So now here they are. They've resurrected this relationship. All is good. And as you point out, Dave, you know, with Jordan Love just sitting there, he's not getting any better. And the sense I got in Indianapolis when I finally got a chance to really have some really good face-to-face conversations with members of the Green Bay Packers organization, just try to get a sense of where is Jordan Love at? Has he really been given a fair chance? And guys, you know better than anyone, coaches, players, agents, they know a lot more than what we do based on what we just see in a game. And the sense I get is this is why they were so pressed to get this Aaron Rodgers deal done, because they don't believe Jordan Love is ready to become a starter next year. Yeah. So moving on from essentially maybe perhaps getting a good trade out of him is something that could work out for the Packers.
Yeah, I realize Love doesn't have much NFL experience, obviously, but with some of these quarterback-needy teams, you never know. To the suggestion that the guys are making here, could you package him? Could you get something back? Yeah, come on, Swagoo GM. Hey, it's your birthday today. Let's just go ahead and make you a GM while we're at it. Guys, it's been a huge day of news. There's also, of course, news around the franchise tag deadline. That passed at 4 p.m. Eastern. Some notable players receiving the franchise tag. Of course, Chris Godwin on that list. Devontae Adams at the top of the list. That was something we were watching out for. Jesse Bates with the Bengals. You also see 3 tight ends, Dalton Schultz, Mike Gesicki, David Njoku. Since the franchise tag was implemented in 1993, the first time 3 tight ends received the tag in a single year. A lot more to come on NFL Live as we talk more about Russell Wilson headed to the Broncos. How about the emotional roller coaster for Jerry Jerry Jeudy. He was feeling some type of way after the Rodgers news. He tweeted a sad face, and then an hour and a half later, change of heart with the Russ news. We'll be right back to talk more about the new look.